up in just a few seconds here. Melissa Lee, what's on tap?
Hi, as you know, Sarah, wild roller coaster ride for Amazon.com in the after-hours session will be on that conference call along with Microsoft and Starbucks. So just a few big earnings reports to trade, plus an exclusive with the CEO of SunPower on the tail of its earnings as well.
All right, I'll let you get to it. You've got a busy lineup.
Thanks a lot, Sarah. Fast Money starts right now. Breaking news at this hour, Amazon's conference call is starting right now. The stock, bit of a wild ride here in the after-hours session, but it is higher right now by more than 2.5%. Microsoft, meantime, getting a pop on earnings. The company's new CEO will be starting his very first conference call later this hour. We'll bring you those comments coming up. And take a look at Pandora. This is one getting hit hard after delivering weaker guidance this afternoon. So is this a buying opportunity? Our traders tonight are Pete Najarian, Steve Grasso, Dan Nathan, and Guy Adami. We kick it off with Amazon as this call gets underway. CEO Jeff Bezos highlighting the company's move into Fire TV and its new deal with HBO on the earnings release. Pete Najarian, how are you trading this one?
Well, I think when you look at Amazon, obviously it's always been a story about what can they do next. And the spending has been an issue that everybody's been talking about for a long time. Over the last 2 years, it's up 66%. It's up another 23% on this call. They did beat on revenues. They've been doing everything that they want to do to get the street to start to like them, but they've got to start earning a lot more money, Melissa. They put a lot of money, a lot of cost into the whole warehouse thing. They're obviously into the cloud, but I think that the street is starting to digest this now, and the stock's not getting a great reaction. It is up,
yeah, but they've been saying that for a long time.
I agree with you.
Want to get paid more. So the truth of the matter is that it's been priced in. If the stock is down, it got hit so hard and so aggressively last earnings season that this time people are willing to give it the benefit of the doubt. They're okay with.
Are you giving it the benefit of the doubt?
I told you, I'm fully allocated right now. Although I did sell my Bank of America, which freed up some funds, I'd be a buyer of Amazon. It was going to be my final trade, but you could upset it right now.
They're giving them the benefit of the doubt. We're an hour into the in the aftermarket here. I mean, to me, I don't think this thing holds. I mean, you have to look at the price action of some stocks that would, just Netflix this week. We had that pop, and now it's just made lower lows. These stocks are in downtrends. Investors are being a lot pickier about what they want to own at what valuation levels.
Let me put a caveat on it. If the overall market holds, this is buyable.
So this stock up $5 is like being down.
That makes a lot of stocks buyable. I mean, the fact of the matter is it's true.
But I always say it all the time, 2/3 of the overall market trade it, right? That's the way it's going to trade.
The fact of the matter is the core business, the margins are razor thin. And what did it see in this quarter? Shipping costs were up 31% year on year. It went to 5% of sales from 44.7% last year.
Operating margins were lousy. They were 0.7%. The street was looking for like 1.1%. That's the number you have to look at now. They report this same quarter with the stock trading 400 and it's down $30, not up to $10 you see now. I think we've done a good job with the stock. We talked about it on April 16th. We said, here's the first time in a while you can trade this from the long side into earnings. Everything bad had been priced in. But this quarter is not remarkable by any stretch of imagination. I'm sort of in the Dan and Pete camp. I think you take profits here. I'm not saying short Amazon here. I'm saying if you got in when we told you to in the last couple weeks, you take profits at these levels.
Mel, Gene Munster actually brought up a very interesting point. He said these guys are spending like drunken sailors, and they are. I mean, this is something that has to be taken into account, Grasso. I mean, you love to see that they're moving sort of in the right direction. They're trying to get, but they are spending money.
It sounds like the love affair with Amazon is over.
Right. No, not even by a long shot. They got beat up. They already been punished for that. But the whole idea is it's a growth story. That's what you do. You pay for future earnings.
Sales growth story at razor thin margins.
Who doesn't on this desk? Who doesn't use Amazon to buy every damn thing?
It doesn't matter.
You don't have a computer guy.
So Amazon.
You should have said it without God.
Amazon sold over a chalkboard, you would buy something on Amazon.
Can I button this up, though? I mean, listen, this stock went parabolic last year, okay? And it had the same issue about spending and margins and that sort of thing. And sales are still growing on a massive number at 20%, okay? So that's fantastic. But the investor mood has changed, okay? And so to me, I think a lot of these stocks that are in these downtrends, they're going to break the lows from earlier in this month, and you do not want to be buying this dip right now.
I'm on record saying I hate you all.
we knew that already. We knew that already. All right. Amazon right now close to after-hour session highs, up by 3% right now. For more on the quarter, let's bring in Raymond James, Senior VP of Equity Research, Aaron Kessler. Aaron, did you like the quarter?
Yeah, so there's a little bit of a mixed bag. I think revenues were stronger than Q4, which is important because investors are a little disappointed in Q4. So revenues were about 22% growth. As you said, margins were a little softer than we expected, about 2.5% on a non-GAAP operating margin basis. We were looking for about 2.9%. Street was right around 2.7%, so a little softer there. Clearly still in investment mode. Still like Amazon long term, but I agree they do need to start to show some increasing leverage over the next few quarters.
Amazon shares, we should just point out, now taking a sharp turn to the downside. It's now down by 1%. So this is clearly a very volatile stock in the after-hours session. Aaron, at this point, we made the point here on the trading desk that Amazon's going to start actually being like a regular company and showing some profit. Can they decide to turn the spigot on at some point?
Yeah, they are making some of the initiatives. I think getting warehouses closer to the end user, potentially some of their own shipping vehicles. They raised Amazon Prime pricing, which we think could add about $300 million plus on an annualized basis. So they do have some things that they can turn that will drive up operating profits. It's not going to happen overnight, but definitely longer term, we think they can still hit a high single-digit operating margin.
Aaron, you presently have a buy rating, and I think it's a $443 price target. Do you, after these earnings, are you already prepared to make any changes to that model at all?
I can't comment right now. I think longer term we're still positive. As I said, a little bit of a mixed bag on the quarter, but it's still positive on the long-term thesis for Amazon.
All right, Aaron, we're going to let you get back on the conference call. Thanks for joining us. Aaron Kessler, Raymond James here. All right, you're skeptical, Dan, so just how did you express this trade? Because you did put a trade on Amazon.
All right, what I wanted to do is, if the stock popped, I'm definitely going to buy puts tomorrow, but I went into the print long some puts near term, just trying to make a quick bet. Not too different than like the sort of move that we saw out of Pandora tonight. We're going to talk about that. But just, I think investors, if they're not getting the beat and raise, I think this is not the environment to be long high valuation stocks. So I'm playing for that pullback. If it bounces on the open, 348, that was the breakdown level. That's the 50-day moving average. That's the level.
All right, of course, we're keeping track of Amazon. The conference call just about 6.5 minutes in. As you see there, the stock really giving up a lot of its gains in the after-hour session. Meantime, take a look at Microsoft share jumping higher after the tech giant beat on earnings. Let's go straight to Josh Lipton for the lowdown on the story. Josh.
Well, Melissa, Microsoft reports and rises in the after hours. The street, remember, was looking for 63 cents on revenue of $20.44 billion. Microsoft reports 68 cents on $20.4 billion. If you drill into the report, commercial revenue, that clocked in at $12.2 billion. Office 365, Azure, revenue, both there up over 100%. As for the devices and consumer division, that was the surprise. Revenue at $8.3 billion, that bested forecast. Windows OEM, or Windows revenue that Microsoft gets from PC makers, that was up 4%. And looking over at hardware, Surface revenue grew 50%, and Microsoft says it sold 2 million Xbox consoles. On the conference call, it's going to be Satya Nadella's debut. The street, of course, wants to hear more detail today about that company's newer strategies, like making Office available for the iPad, the Nokia acquisition, which is completed tomorrow. Nadella also making it clear that the cloud, a key part of his strategy to jumpstart growth. So we'll want more details on how that business is performing. I'll be on that conference call and bring you updates later in the hour. Melissa, back to you.
All right, look forward to that, Josh. Thanks so much. 40.90 is where Microsoft is in the after-hour session, and that is still off of its 52-week high.
Still, I think it's going high. I think this is the exact opposite quarter. I think you buy this strength as opposed to Amazon. And the one number that Josh didn't mention, to me, it's operating margins, much better than almost 35% operating margins, which smoked what analysts were looking for. Pete's talked about this ad nauseum, but the death of the PC obviously didn't die, because you look at Apple's numbers yesterday and you look at Microsoft's quarter now. They've gotten themselves into different businesses. They've diversified enough where I think you're in a new trading range for Microsoft.
Satya Nadella has not been on the job for very long, and already he really changed the course of Microsoft. And by the sheer fact that he's going to be on this conference call, that is a departure from Steve Ballmer, who did not participate in these calls. You are
right. And this guy also brings, and we talked about it a couple weeks ago, but he does bring a bit of a swag factor back to Microsoft that they hadn't had in a long time. As a matter of fact, I don't even know if Apple has that same sort of a swag that he brings to it, and the intelligence. When you look at Azure, this is all about growth. That's the area he came from. He built it already up, and Satya is obviously keeping a close eye on this as well. Really impressive quarter. When you look at this quarter on top of the last couple of quarters, Melissa, they have been impressive, beyond impressive, and they've gone in the right direction. And obviously under the new leadership and a lot of different folks in a lot of different leadership roles now, I think Satya right now has really got them moving in the right way. Cloud is where he sees the growth, and he's right there.
Yeah, but it's cannibalizing the desktop business and some of the more traditional businesses. To me, I actually think he made a very big mistake coming in his first quarter. I would have taken down that forward guidance and set myself up to actually beat expectations. This
Maybe
is a
he
company,
did.
Well, he didn't. I mean, this is a company that has no growth, you know what I mean? And so, yes, if they're moving this, Office 365, fantastic, but it's stealing
I don't get that, though, because you're saying he should have taken down the guidance, and yet we're seeing them beat the guidance anyway.
He had one shot to do it, okay? You kitchen sink it. idiot. You blame the old guy. What are you talking about? This is new CEO 101.
But there's nothing to blame. That's the thing. I think Microsoft, I mean, they feel like they're operating their business the best they have in almost 2 decades. So
if they miss, then I would have said, yeah, you should have taken down the guy.
They're about to close on this Nokia thing. They're knee deep in the Surface stuff. These are all things that they're going to be
killing it.
Well, they're going to be right. Oh, really?
Yeah.
You say with sarcasm, I would assume. We will be, by the way, on the Microsoft conference call. We'll bring you all the updates when it gets underway in about 20 minutes' time. But we got to talk about the broader markets here because it was supposed to be an Apple-driven rally, but the broader market didn't follow suit. In fact, we had terrible trading when it comes to Facebook. You take a look at the intraday action on Facebook. That wasn't very positive. We had financials rolling over here. So Mr. Grump, he's grumpy tonight, by the way. But anyway.
What isn't he grumpy?
For all you Apple people and all you market bulls, Apple saved the day, guys. I mean, this price action in the morning was whippy, and it felt crashy, to be very frank. And so, you know, Apple, which bifurcated from the market more than a year ago, for all intents and purposes, today, without Apple, up 7-8% all day.
And the market had every reason to follow Apple higher. It had every reason, but they chose to react to geopolitical news. And if you look at it technically, the market is setting up for a head and shoulders pattern. I said it the other day. A friend of mine, Steve Eubanks, got to give him credit where credit's due, pointed out that we're forming that right shoulder of the head and shoulders pattern. The market can't get over in the cash 1883 in the S&P.
I don't know which shoulder we're talking about right now. I mean, left shoulder, right shoulder, all this stuff.
Host as well.
We are near. This is one thing that Steve and I have agreed on for a little while now, though, is, Melissa, we're still stuck in the range. And we are at the high end of the range. The one thing I would say about the Apple news, though, is how about Caterpillar? Caterpillar, everybody gave it up for dead. It's not only run up and through $100 a share.
New high.
They crushed it today. Absolutely crushed it. And the guidance was strong. And everybody thinks it's a mining company. It's a lot more than a mining company. It's a power company. They do a lot of different things right now. And the mining's still failure for them, but there are other areas that are picking that up.
Broader market, real quick. We talked about at the beginning of the month. We said it was too early for the market to break down. We had that conversation on April 8th, April 9th. And we said that the best thing that could happen for the bears was if the S&P recaptured that 1834 level and just sort of meandered for a while, which is pretty much what it's been doing. We have 5 trading days left, I think, in the month now, maybe 4. 1834 is not that far away. I'm not saying it's going to get there, but that's the number I think you have to be looking for on the downside.
All right, shares of Starbucks moving higher as its earnings call gets underway. Will the company mention a potential stake in SodaStream? Jane Wells is listening in. She'll have a live report that's next. And Google getting into the solar space with a new partnership. We've got the exclusive details with the CEO of SunPower off the earnings call straight ahead.
Imagine the possibilities and weigh them by the probabilities. Good advice for navigating through life, directly applicable to investing and the very essence of options trading. At interactivebrokers.com/probabilities, I tell you a practical way of thinking about options without complicated mathematics. The most valuable half an hour you could spend on this topic.
I cannot even conceive how you get charges dropped, released from jail, and put in charge of a unit.
I'm a changed man. They took Antonio's son. Nothing else matters till we get Diego back. Nothing.
Force got a different way of doing things.
You got 3 minutes till the sally's full of uniforms. Do what you gotta do.
A brand new series, Chicago PD, Monday at 9 p.m., only on Universal Channel.
Kick off your day with the rundown. Join Anna Bakhtiar from the Singapore Exchange to wrap up the overnight action and get set for the day ahead. Start your day smart. Start your day with the rundown. Weekdays at 6 a.m. on CNBC.
If they hadn't gotten this bad advice from this financial advisor, these people could be living their dreams. And I get so angry. People are still being taken advantage of when it comes to their money from advisors. And somebody's got to stop that. So the passion comes from me wanting to be that person. Weekends on CNBC Life.
On the Money interviews the people making the news and brings you the latest market and economic information that impacts your money. On the Money, this weekend on CNBC. Jimmy's back and all new with Christina Hendricks, freestyling with The Roots, and a new rap with OG Brian Williams.
With my mind on my money and my money on my mind.
Hey everyone, I'm Jimmy Fallon. Watch the all-new Tonight Show starring me, weekends on CNBC. This guy swings the club 125 miles an hour. This guy can hook it 30 yards into the wind. This guy has a FedEx Cup. So does this guy. This guy has 2. This guy drives the ball a mile. This guy drives it a country mile. This guy drives one of those. How do you compete with that? These guys are good.
Shares of Starbucks trading higher after hours. The company matched on earnings expectations. Revenues coming in slightly below estimates. Jane Wells joins us now with more on the quarter from the conference call. Jane.
Melissa, Howard Schultz just turned it over to the other executives. He finished speaking. You know, there's no word of headwinds, no talk of weather, no talk of coffee prices and commodities or anything like that. It's all pretty amazing. And Starbucks is really proving these new companies are a huge mashup. Are you a technology company? Are you a retail company? Do you sell coffee? Howard Schultz just talking about their mobile strategy and how other technology companies are now approaching him about the possibility of licensing it. And he is examining that now and the potential as that is another future revenue stream because Starbucks payments, he called it Stars and Currency, is proving to be so successful. It is making wait time shorter, driving sales. And so he thinks now maybe that is something that they can license to other people to use. As for the earnings itself, as you said, 56 cents a share, which was what the street expected. Record revenues, even though they came in light at about $3.9 billion. 6% same-store sales growth. It is now 17 quarters in a row that they have had 5% or better for overall same-store sales growth. And he talked a lot about real estate and how they are re-envisioning store designs and even drive-thrus in particular. Here's what he had to say.
Highly profitable drive-thrus represent a significant growth opportunity for us and continue to remain a focal point of our store development efforts. And with this, tremendous success of our recently introduced award-winning designed drive-thru only stores with walk-up windows.
They have one of those that opened up maybe 6 months ago out by my house, line around the block of cars. Like 3 people walk up to the window. Everybody wants to stay in their car to get their Starbucks. He also talked about Teavana bars. They've opened them in New York and Seattle. Later, soon to come, Chicago, LA, more New York City locations. The Oprah Winfrey partnership rolls out Tuesday with the Teavana Oprah Chai, TOC, I guess you call it. One other thing he talked about, the upcoming, they've been testing them, Physio, these handcrafted cold carbonated beers. They're going to roll that out more this summer in Korea and China. Carbonated? No word yet. Nothing about SodaStream. Melissa, back to you.
All right, Jane, we'll check back in with you. Thanks for that. Interesting, I think, the licensing the mobile technology. You've been in this name. They haven't actually talked about their core business of coffee
and Jane also
costs,
was addressing something, and I saw you guys kind of giving a funny look when she was talking about weather, because the reason she brought that up was Dunkin' Donuts actually used weather as part of the reason why they may have had a few missteps this past quarter when they were reported earlier. But I think the other side of it is not only they continue to work, and Howard Schultz continues to have this company working in the right direction, and obviously the tea, another spot where they have some innovative potential to go forward, but 1,500 more stores is what they're planning on opening in the U.S. and internationally. This is a company that's really got some monster expansion plans in front of it. I love this name.
Yeah, but you know what? I just want to add one point. Momentum's dead in the name. I mean, it topped out in November, made an all-time high, and I got to tell you, if you want to be long this thing in a good market, in a market that's trending higher, great, use 70 as a stop because the momentum's gone here. If it breaks and the market gets ugly, it's going to the mid-60s.
Was this in your triangle of death? Was it one of those things?
It might have been. But I mean, it's banged along this 70 level. It's a huge, huge support level, and the fact that it broke that momentum last year makes me nervous.
All right, quick programming note here. The CEO of Starbucks, Howard Schultz, will be joining Squawk on the Street tomorrow. That's at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time in a CNBC exclusive. All right, let's take a look at some of the other big after-hours movers from Pandora, Visa, Las Vegas Sands, Baidu. First up, Pandora beat by a penny, but guided lower. The stock getting hit right now, down by 3%. Certainly off the session lows, which had been, I believe, down 9%. Pete.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see the bounce. Actually, some of the numbers looked okay, but obviously the overall interpretation by the market right now is negative. This is a stock that was $40, pulled back to $29. I actually started dipping into this one, Melissa, because I actually felt like they were going to be able to beat much more impressively. Obviously, they didn't do that. It's slipping down, so I'm going to melt in those options right now. So I think you'd want to wait for a little while in Pandora at this point.
All right, next Next up, Visa beating by 2 cents a share, coming in a little bit light on revenue. The stock down 4.2% after hours. Guy.
By Visa standards, this is not a good quarter at all, and I think you got to give this a couple days. It, traded down to 195 and held. It feels like it wants to trade there again. That's not a reach, obviously, from these levels. But here's a stock that really has not now performed for the last couple months, unexpectedly, because I've loved the story. But I think you got to give this a couple days to sift lower. I think it does trade in the low 190s.
Next up to Vegas, Las Vegas Sands beating on both the top and the bottom lines. Grasso.
Las Vegas finds their growth not in Las Vegas. It finds it in Macau. Macau was up 20% in the first quarter, quarter over quarter. This is where you're going to find growth. They also have Singapore. So it's Singapore and Macau they're getting growth. But the problem is Wynn seems like the favorite on the street. WYNN up 10% year to date, while Las Vegas is basically flat.
And last up, big beat here for shares of Baidu. Dan, surging in the after, up 5% here.
Yeah, a beat and raise, and you want to see that. I mean, to me, this is a really tough one. I was eyeing the 140 level on the downside. If it went there, if sell the news sort of thing, it looks like an interesting trading support level there. But I'll just make one point. There's been a lot of talk about this Alibaba filing. I think once investors start to dig deeper into Alibaba, they're going to have a lot of new metrics to compare against Baidu, and it could put some pressure on the stock. So just like the Starbucks, I would use 140 on the downside. If you're long this thing, you don't want to be long it below that.
All right, coming up next is not just Apple, Amazon, and Microsoft dominating the tech headlines today. Pete Najarian spotting some major call buying in one high-flying chip name. We got the big reveal and how to play it after the break. Plus, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella's first ever conference call set to begin in just minutes. We'll bring you all the headlines fresh from that call when we come right back. Stay tuned.
Fast money means trading. Everybody's got to bring their best information each and every night. The entire trading day is the preparation for the show that night.
It's idea generation. It's all about giving you a framework for how to look at the market. So as the world has changed, our show has evolved. I am Guy Adami. I am Fast Money.
I am Pete Najarian. I am Fast Money.
Are you Fast Money? Go to the NBC Universal Store and order your Fast Money tea. Run with the big dogs.
It begins with anticipation. It's built on preparation. For the city of Barcelona, throwing one of the world's biggest parties starts with the cloud. Powered by Microsoft Dynamics CRM, Azure, and SQL Server, this cloud helps ensure all voices are heard, and the festival goes off without a hitch. This cloud turns chaos into clockwork. This is the Microsoft Cloud.
Fashionistas and pop culture lovers rejoice. Fashion Police and E! News are coming to you faster than ever before, express from Hollywood, which means you get to see this.
Mirror, mirror on the wall. She used to have one, apparently, not now.
And this.
We are breaking news all over the globe.
Without the wait. Catch the same-day telecast of E! News coming to you express from Hollywood, Tuesdays through Sundays. And Fashion Police, Mondays, only on E!
Kick off your day with the rundown. Join Anna Bakhtiar from the Singapore Exchange to wrap up the overnight action and get set for the day ahead. Start your day smart. Start your day with the rundown. Weekdays at 6 a.m. on CNBC.
Wheeling and dealing in the healthcare space. We're going to find out why M&A is turning into a prescription for profits.
And does Zarbonomics deserve an A for effort? We're going to ask Jasper Cole of JPM Securities Japan.
As European markets come to life, there's one team you need. Delivering the news, views, and market action to get you geared up to trade. Lively debate, dynamic conversation, and where business leaders turn first. Squawk Box, each weekday at 1 p.m.
Global markets converge in one place. Worldwide Exchange. Ross Westgate and Julia Chatterley track the news around the globe trade by trade. Get the bigger picture. Worldwide Exchange. Weekdays from 4 p.m. First in business worldwide.
back to Fast Money. We've got breaking news on the index front. The S&P Dow Jones Indices Group is announcing some changes, changes that will take effect to the S&P 500 by April 30th. In this move, Navient will replace Sallie Mae in the S&P 500. Sallie Mae is spinning off Navient, which is a loan operator and services management company. It's being spun off from Sallie Mae, so Navient will be in the S&P 500 replacing Sallie Mae. Also, Beam, which got acquired by Suntory, is being replaced by Under Armour. So Under Armour shares, which were weak in the early trade or in regular session trading today, down about 7%, are up about 3% in the after-hours trade. It will be included in the S&P 500 as of the close of business on April 30. So all these changes coming into effect at the end of this month. The headline, again, Under Armour and Navient becoming part of the S&P 500. Melissa, back over to you.
All right, thanks very much, Dom Chu. Pete Najarian, you bought UA today.
I did. I just felt like after looking through their earnings call, everything and every metric I looked at looked like it was an absolute crush. I mean, when you look at the footwear and the apparel was up 33%. Yep. The footwear is up 41%. International was growing as well. When I looked at the entire report, I didn't understand why it was selling off to the degree that
gross margins were up too, which is rare in this industry.
Very, very impressive. And not that I was right or wrong. Now this helps a little bit.
Isn't it fair to say that it might not have had anything to do with the results, that the fact that it's trading at 53 times this year's earnings are expected to grow 22%? I mean, it fits really in that cult stock category. And to me, I'll tell you, 50, you were daring to step in right there. It looked like it had the potential to fill in that earnings gap from 3 months ago.
Yeah, a lot of people were warning me about that. I still liked it, and I just feel like the growth strategy so far is so strong that it sort of builds going forward, even though the multiple's very high.
You hold or you fade on this 3% pop in the after hours?
I'm going to probably hold it. I actually think it's going to return towards 55, 60.
All right, let's get some unusual activity. And Pete was watching a chip maker, one that we watch here on the show actually very often.
Yeah, Micron Technology. We talk about this name all the time, and this is a stock that hit a 52-week high today. Then you suddenly look over at some of the options, and they're absolutely out of control. 180,000 calls on the day total traded. The May 28 calls, over 26,000 of those, and the July 30 calls, another 25,000 of those. So a lot of activity. People looking for this name not only to break out, but break up and maybe get up above $30 a share.
Go ahead.
If you overlay DRAM, the chart on DRAM spot price, it is lockstep with Micron. And DRAM actually looks like it's rolling over. So that might be interesting to see if it could hold price here, because it looks like Micron could be topping out.
All right, coming up next, the Microsoft call officially underway in 3 minutes. CEO Satya Nadella, will he send shares even higher in the after-hour session? We've got all the headlines the street's waiting for in his first ever conference call. That's after the break. And later, solar company SunPower announcing a major partnership with tech titan Google, as well as earnings tonight. All the details plus a deeper dive into the call. We are joined by the CEO of SunPower in a CNBC exclusive. Stay tuned.
That's hot.
Can I help you? You know what this guy's problem is? What? He's so busy planning and building things for his customers that he's overlooking his most important project. Which is? His life. Planning and building his own business. Maybe he needs to talk to someone. He just needs to take the first step.
ANZ has specialists with the expertise to help build your business today and plan for tomorrow.
Express from the U.S. There will be tears and tantrums, fights and fashion.
This isn't just a new season.
This is entirely a new competition. 12 beautiful women competing for model stardom with 3 of the most famous supermodels in the world as their mentors.
One of these girls will become the face.
More energy. Bring it. Only one supermodel can guide their girl to glory. There's nothing to hide behind here. The Face. All new season. Monday night at 8. First and exclusive on Diva Universal.
It's all about being connected, following capital flows around the world. Sri Jagaraja and Carolyn Raw get you up to speed on what's moving global markets. Capital Connection, weekdays at midday on CNBC.
Record breaker today.
At the heart of the trading day.
We have a market alert.
When powerful people meet.
And all eyes here in Washington now.
Important deals are brokered.
And the S&P at an all-time high today.
And news is made.
We have breaking news now.
In Silicon Valley with some breaking news.
Power Lunch, Tuesdays to Saturdays at 1 a.m. This is the CNBC Real-Time app.
What's ahead today? What's moving? This is interesting. What's it done in the past week, year? 5 years. I want to follow this. Done. Breaking news? What's happening? What's Cramer's take?
those stocks have been on a tear.
Real-time quotes, news, videos, watch lists. Reimagined for the iPad. Free at the App Store.
You asked, we answered. A completely redesigned app for Android now puts the power of CNBC in the palm of your hand. Gotta stay one step ahead? CNBC for Android has real-time quotes and pre-market action. Hooked on the markets? A new way to check on the latest news, analysis, and video.
Does not look good across the board.
Want it your way? Customize your watch list and the information you want. The all-new CNBC app for Android. Available now at Google Play.
Microsoft's earnings call officially underway now with new CEO Satya Nadella at the helm after a solid earnings beat. Let's bring in Daniel Ives, senior analyst at FBR Capital Markets, who covers the stock. Dan, great to have you with us.
Great to be here.
What's your number one question for Satya?
I think it's really more about the cloud in terms of him taking the success that he, really envisioned on the cloud to now the broader platform, specifically around Windows, and how he is going to successfully integrate Nokia. That continues to be the $7 billion head scratcher for investors.
Is that going to be a headwind? I mean, Nokia has, 32,000 employees in terms of integration?
Yeah, I would call that a hurricane-like headwind. I mean, look, he's really trying to turn the Cleveland Browns of mobile into a playoff contender. And again, this is something that he inherited, but that's really going to be the challenge, because for Microsoft to really be successful, obviously it's cloud, it's getting away from PCs, but they got to be successful on mobile, and Nokia is really front and center there.
Yeah, but Dan, you look at this quarter, you look at the last couple quarters, and they've been, spectacular is probably too strong a word. They've been really solid, and it feels like Microsoft is operating as best they have over the last 2 decades. To me, at 14 times forward earnings, given the fact that all their businesses seem to be working right now, I think the stock's still cheap here at 41 bucks.
Yeah, I agree. I think you have to almost separate between the core business and Nokia. I mean, look, the Nadella era is off to a great start on cloud and really getting away from some of the PC headwinds, which have started to abate. I mean, investors have given a lot of goodwill. You got a glass half full situation. And again, it's one of these where, it's talking the talk and walking the walk, but, we're definitely in a much better situation than we were under the Ballmer era. And I think, investors are really starting to, see the benefits of Nadella, even that he's on the conference call, given Ballmer never got within 5 miles of the conference call.
Dan, I know that margins look okay now, but what happens when we start to segue more into future growth with cloud? What happens to margins then? Do we get a Cisco-like breakdown where cloud, where they want to be, is 50% margins of where they're at right now?
Yeah, I wouldn't see it like that. I mean, I definitely would see some margin compression, but I think investors, they want to see that in terms of near-term pain for long-term gain. And I think that's something on the conference call in terms of Nadella almost getting a get-out-of-jail-free card in terms of investing now. Because remember, I mean, this is a company that's missed out on social, tablets, cloud trends, they were late to the game. So now it's really about them trying to skate to where the puck's going. They got to get there through investments and even some more acquisitions that we could see specifically in the cloud.
All right, Dan, we're going to leave it there. Thanks for your time. Dan Ives, FBR. Microsoft should keep in mind 41.66. That's a 52-week high. Right now we're about $41 here, so this could make a go for it in the after hours. Meantime, Amazon shares flipping to the red here. Let's get to Morgan Brennan at headquarters. She's been on the Amazon earnings call. Morgan, what's the latest?
Thanks, Melissa. Yes, we've been listening to the call, and it's, to be completely fair, it's kind of what you would expect from an Amazon call, not breaking out a lot of numbers, not giving us a lot of detail, somewhat arguably opaque. That being said, we don't have Jeff Bezos on the call. We have CFO Tom Szkutak, and he's acknowledging that they're very pleased with the overall fundamentals, that they're continuing to add more customers, and that's the reason that they've seen some acceleration in growth in Q1. A few of the things to really pull out, I mean, we've seen the price increase for Prime, a 25% price increase. That rolled out last month, so still in early stages there. When he was asked about that, basically said this is still early and that Prime subscribers have continued to grow week over week since they've rolled out that price increase, but not giving us any more color other than that that. I think some of the most interesting headlines actually tying back to what we saw in the earnings report, and that's the numbers for Prime Instant Video. They said streaming for Prime Instant Video actually tripled. He reiterated that, also saying that they're working hard to keep Fire TV in stock, and that HBO Go is probably going to be rolling out on Fire TV by the end of the year. So reiterating that, we are going to keep listening to the call, and if we have more, we will bring it to you. Back to you, Melissa.
Thanks so much, Morgan Brennan on Amazon. All right, if it is truly falling out of investor favor at this point, it is down 18% from its recent high, then all these things that are being said are not going to be enough. I mean, yeah, Fire TV is great, but that's not going to move the needle.
That's not going to move the needle.
Nothing.
I mean, Gary Busey's, I mean, it does come.
He's awesome. He's hilarious.
I saw it the other day. I mean, it actually
laugh out loud.
Laugh out loud.
But it doesn't make a difference.
Look, I think we outlined the trade fair. I'm not saying to short it here. We talked about it on the closing bell. We talked about it when this show opened, when the stock was north of 345. You got to take profits. I'll say that here at 338. Take profits. I don't think this quarter was spectacular at all. I think it was marginal at best.
All right, let's take a check on Deckers here, jumping in the after-hours session. Let's go to Dom Chubeck at headquarters for the latest. Dom.
All right, Melissa, how about a 7% jump to the upside for Deckers, which posted a smaller than expected 8 cent a share a loss there. That's, again, narrower than what Wall Street was expecting. The sales picture came in better. Remember, this is Uggs boots, Teva sandals. These guys did pretty well in terms of Wall Street's view. That's why the shares are up about 7%. Still, maybe a decent sign for the consumer when discretionary items like this, Melissa, are doing pretty well. Back over to you.
Thanks, Dom. Big pop. They're up 7%, Grosso.
Investors always think about the stock as just the boots that Dan loves to wear. They also have the sandals, as Dom just said, the Teva sandals, which I like to wear. So this is a name where you can buy, but I would definitely wait until this pulls back. I don't like to buy them on a flagpole here.
But this is a company that has produced time and time again for the most part. And when you look at it from a valuation perspective, even up $5 now in the post market, this is not an expensive company at all by any stretch. It's under a 20 multiple presently and forward. So I wouldn't say you want to chase it, but certainly this is a solid name.
I think you hate the stock. What do you?
I'm long the boots. I have 2 young daughters, so trust me that. I'm just not long the stock. Grasso's had a couple really good calls. It's a sort of stock. There's a lot of seasonal patterns. I think you buy it when it's down, especially when it looks relatively cheap into maybe a new product cycle.
Any guys out there, you shouldn't be wearing. You should not be wearing sandals. I've never worn
sandals at all.
Ever.
How about in hot climates?
I don't. Huh?
How about in hot climates?
Yeah. How about
but you know, old guys have those disgusting toenails. So it's like so for him, if you are in his age bracket, do not. That's trade school right there.
That's trade school. Trade school. Throw that up there.
Anyway.
Trade school.
Google and SunPower. Google and SunPower joining forces to make solar-powered homes a reality for more homeowners. Fresh off the earnings call, which just wrapped up, the CEO and president of SunPower, Tom Werner, joins us after the break. Plus, Flyers versus the Rangers. Could trading volume in each city predict the winner of the Stanley Cup playoffs? 2 major hockey alumni join the desk live. More fast straight ahead.
Whether you pick trades randomly to break even or follow a strategy to beat the market, your return will be dragged down by transaction costs. The lower your transaction costs, the better your results. That's why transaction costs are so important to consider when choosing your broker or prime broker. Trade up to Interactive Brokers and improve your return today.
We are Saracens. Five continents, 7 countries, one vision.
Profits are up, but yields are growing, and their stock is on a high. So is there anything that can bring Delta back down to earth? We'll be talking to the airline's Asia-Pac boss, Vinay Dubey, first on Squawk.
Is your money moving in the right direction? Get real-time insights as Martin Sung and Oriole Morrison cover the day's biggest market moves. Street Signs, weekdays at 10 a.m. CNBC. First in business worldwide. Global markets converge in one place, Worldwide Exchange. Ross Westgate and Julia Chatterley track the news around the globe trade by trade. Get the bigger picture. Worldwide Exchange. Weekdays from 4 p.m. First in business worldwide.
When I end the Susie Orman Show, I end it with the slogan, people first, then money, then things. And that is the divine order of money. Weekends on CNBC Life.
We will single stroke and pause for 2 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, our heroes will now open the marketplace.
Everybody should step to the plate right now and show the strength of the American economy.
The show of unity at the NASDAQ market site.
This city is the capital of capital.
Just getting the markets open is a victory.
Pops and drops, big movers of the day. Pop here for Aetna, up 6%. Grasso.
You know, the stock was in favor, then it was out of favor, now it's bouncing back, but I'm not sure if people understand what the Affordable Health Care Act is really going to do to these names. It's a quasi-safe spot. I'm not involved with it. I don't think I'd buy it right here either.
Got a drop for United Continental, down 10%. Geek.
Not a great quarter and not great guidance, but 10% in the stock is huge. I think if it holds 40, which is where it broke out from a few weeks ago, if you go back and look, I think it's fine again. I think you buy. These stocks are very volatile. I think you buy it right here.
Pop for DR Horton, up 8%. Pete.
Their earnings jumped, their sales prices jumped. They did everything correct, but I got to warn you, this is a very volatile sector. I think on this big pullback, stock pop, I think it's going to get a pullback. I'd sell some into it.
And we got a pop here for Pop Flies.
What?
Hermès, the luxury retailer, stepping up its game with a $14,000 baseball glove. The handmade mitt takes 25 hours to stitch and is made of gold Swift calf skin. Of course, if the major league price tag is out of your reach, there's some relief. You can pick up an Hermès baseball bat for a mere $1,900.
Can I say one thing?
It's stupid.
No.
Is that what you're going to say?
No,
Go
I'm
ahead,
gonna say, if some dude's wearing that glove and I'm playing, if he gets up, I'm drilling him. I'm telling him. No, I'm going to say it right now. I said, this is coming right at your ribs. If you want to flinch, that's fine, but I'm knocking you down.
And he would deserve it. $14,000 and a $1,900 bat.
That's just not right.
Go to Sports Authority.
Right. That's not
anyway.
right. No, you're not right. You can't throw the ball at the...
I tell him it's coming. I'm going to drill him. Here it comes.
In case children are watching, it's not good sportsmanship.
He's talking about playing with second graders, too.
Yeah, well.
Energy stocks making new highs, and traders think there's more opportunity in this space. So, Dan, what are you watching?
Yeah, Anadarko Petroleum today traded massive call volume, 4 times average daily total volume. 95% of that was calls, and there were 2 big trades that equaled 50,000 contracts. There were call spreads, actually, where somebody looked out to January expiration and bought 50,000 of the 120, 135 call spread, paying $1.61 for that. That's $8 million in premium, and it doesn't break even until 20% higher, with the max gain 35% higher on January expiration. My guess here is with something like this, it's so far out of the money, this is somebody who is long, and the stock is at all-time highs, and is looking to get some cheap, dollar-cheap premium leverage to the upside.
All right, you get more options action tomorrow, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And also check out the website, optionsaction.cnbc.com. Still ahead, we hear from the new Microsoft CEO, Satya Nadella, in the midst of his very first earnings conference call. That's up next.
When you're in the middle of everything, it can be hard to see it all clearly. It all works together. But when you rise above it and see it all laid out, it's so much easier to know exactly where you are.
ANZ specialists across Asia Pacific can provide you with a comprehensive view and the expertise to help your business progress.
Ooh, high finance indeed.
I cannot even conceive how you get charges dropped, released from jail, and put in charge of a unit.
I'm a changed man. They took Antonio's son. Nothing else matters till we get Diego back. Nothing.
Voice got a different way of doing things.
You got 3 minutes till this alley's full of uniforms. Do what you gotta do.
A brand new series, Chicago PD, Monday at 9 p.m., only on Universal Channel.
Kick off your day with the rundown. Join Anna Bakhtiar from the Singapore Exchange to wrap up the overnight action and get set for the day ahead. Start your day smart. Start your day with a rundown. Weekdays at 6 a.m. on CNBC. Crucial insights, engaging conversation. No holds barred opinion. Susan Lee and Bernie Lowe. Squawk Box, live from Hong Kong. You can't afford to miss it. Each weekday morning at 7 a.m. CNBC. First in business worldwide. It's all about being connected. Following capital flows around the world. Sri Jagaraja and Carolyn Robb get you up to speed on what's moving global markets. Capital Connection. Weekdays at midday on CNBC.
This program is going to go on forever.
Jay Leno. Take a bow, Jay. Thank you. New host of The Tonight Show, Jimmy Fallon.
You ready for this?
Weekend. The Tonight Show, starring Jimmy Fallon.
It's gonna be a party!
Hey everyone, I'm Jimmy Fallon. Watch the all-new Tonight Show starring me, weekends on CNBC.
This guy swings the club 125 miles an hour. This guy can hook it 30 yards into the wind. This guy has a FedEx Cup. So does this guy. This guy has 2. This guy drives the ball a mile. This guy drives it a country mile. This guy drives one of those. How do you compete with that? These guys are good.
Shares of solar company SunPower up 20% in just the past week, boosted by news of a brand new $250 million partnership with Google to bring solar to residential homes. The company just reported earnings after the bell, beating on the top and the bottom lines. Joining us now exclusively is SunPower President and CEO Tom Werner. Tom, always great to see you.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me.
You know, a lot of investors like your company because of the diversity in your portfolio. With this new Google partnership, and with the expansion of the residential leasing business, how does that mix change, if at all?
Well, with Google and with Bank of America, we have 2 lease partners that have the ability to scale rather rapidly. So it gives us a really, really bright future in residential. And so, you know, if I look forward, I think I'd be a little more bullish on our distributed generation business. And as you point out, we purposely diversify so we're not overly in one segment, but a bit more bullish on residential.
And you did say that you saw some strong demand in the residential rooftop business in the latest quarter. I'm wondering, is that a function of the strength of the housing market, consumer confidence? What's driving this?
What we see in solar is the costs have come down and people understand that it's pretty risk-free. So what we see is this mainstreaming of solar, and of course energy prices have not come down, so you're crossing grid parity and people can have clean energy and save money. So that combination means the residential market is red hot.
All right. You know, on the conference call you talked about different structures, like perhaps a holding company. What could that look like to investors if you went that route, and included in that, could there be a spin-off of the residential leasing business?
Well, the holdco structure is a great structure for us because it gives us 2 things. One, it allows us to build the project and hold it so we take risk out and we can sell it for a higher price because we've de-risked it. Secondly, we have the option to build it into a yieldco, which leverages the advantages of our product. Our product is higher reliability, produces more energy, has a longer life, and it's built into a yieldco. Of course, we'll listen to our shareholders on what is the best structure of the company. There are certainly no plans to change the structure of the company, but of course we're always in tune with what is best for shareholders.
Tom, solid first quarter. Second quarter guidance, so can you talk to that? Because it looked to me, it was obviously the street's looking past it, given for a lot of different reasons, not least of which a 37% short interest. But the second quarter guidance wasn't great. Can you speak to that?
Well, first quarter was, you know, an extremely good quarter. We beat the high end by 10%, 20% actually. So we had a great first quarter. So there's a little bit of pull-in. The second thing is, as you build out a holdco, you put some of the projects onto the balance sheet and not the P&L. So we've got some earnings which we expect to be greater in 15 that we're moving from 14 to 15. The last thing I would say is we actually raised guidance for the year. So it's not so bad. You know, 4 months into the year, we've already raised guidance for the year twice.
What are you seeing in China in terms of the demand? I mean, recently you announced the first sale of the C7 technology. So what's the pipeline look like?
Incredible. There we have a four-way JV. It's a little complex, so we need to get the operating side of it working. But the upside demand is phenomenal. It's certainly way more than we can produce in the near term. We see a similar phenomenon in Japan. So we've got two markets where demand is substantially higher than supply.
All right, Tom, we're going to leave it there. Thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me again.
Tom Werner, the CEO of SunPower, fresh off the conference call. The stock in the after-hour session up by 2%. Some very, very bullish comments on China. I mean, to say that the upside demand is phenomenal, you don't hear that too often from a CEO. Guy, what's the trade?
I think well, last time we was on, we talked about getting along the stock, saying it's going to be volatile, but the short interest in this name is such you can't sell it here. I think it's going to continue to go higher. He explained why the second quarter guidance was sort of sloppy. I'm with him. I think the stock could trade north of $35. All
right, let's get more from the Starbucks conference call and CEO Howard Schultz's comments. Jane Wells got the latest. Jane.
Hey, Melissa. Well, weather did finally come up, but in a different way. The CFO did mention the acute extreme weather and that they had the most store closings and the most disruption to hours due to weather than they've ever had, which makes them all the more, quote, ecstatic about the 6% same-store sales growth. About coffee prices, not only do they have coffee locked in for all of 2014, they have it locked in for 40% of 2015 at prices that are better than they are paying right now. So they say they are as protected as anybody to fluctuating coffee prices. They don't really know what it may be down the road. Of course, if we have an El Nino coming, that could raise coffee prices higher. No talk, though, of price hikes. They did talk a little bit more about this licensing potentially of their technology. They say both tech companies and national retailers are approaching them because they have a significant lead. Howard Schultz saying they're doing way more than 5 million transactions on mobile phones and on their smartphones a week, more than 5 million, way more than 5 million a week. He says tech companies don't have the interface with the consumer. Retailers are behind on developing the technology, so they may white label this to them. They see it could be a very significant upside, but they're still thinking about it. A couple other things. Their K-Cup business grew 33% for the quarter versus 28% for the whole category. Nobody's asked about SodaStream yet, and they haven't mentioned it.
What? All right. Well, looking for that, Jane. Thanks a lot for that, Jane Wells. What's the trade on Starbucks? Guy. I've got your.
ITG's had this one called. It's 68.5, 69. Dan mentioned 70 as your level. I think it's a little bit lower than in terms of a stop. It's held there a couple times and bounced. The stock should be higher than it is given this quarter. I think you traded from the long side with the levels that Dan and I mentioned earlier in the show.
All right. Fresh off of Microsoft's earnings call, Satya Nadella steps up to the plate for the first time ever. We need to go to Josh Lipton for the latest on that. Josh.
Yeah, Melissa, on the conference call, Satya Nadella making his debut, and he started by talking about the future of the tech industry and how he saw Microsoft's role in that industry, again emphasizing that mobile-first, cloud-first vision he's talked about. He said there were two words he would use to describe this quarter. Take a listen to what he told analysts.
I sum up this quarter in two words: execution and transition. We delivered solid financial results, and we took several steps to reorient Microsoft.
Nadella is also talking a lot about the commercial cloud business. He's, of course, flagged that as an important business, a way to jumpstart growth at Microsoft, pointing out that commercial cloud revenue more than doubled in the quarter. Amy Hood, the CFO, just now beginning to give guidance that Nokia acquisition will formally close tomorrow. Excluding that, she said commercial revenue in Q4 will be $13.1 to $13.3 billion. The Street was looking for $13.2 billion. Melissa, back to you.
All right, Josh Lipton, thanks for that. And Microsoft holding on to gains after our session highs up 2.5%. Grasso, what's the trade?
Well, put it this way, cloud has been the catchphrase, right? So if it's a catchphrase, that means everyone's doing it. It means they have to segue into it. It means that margin compression will happen. It might not happen now, but it's going to happen sooner rather than later. I think that you should lock in some profits here at Microsoft.
It's a sell. All right. Yes. Kramer's got a jam-packed technology show tonight. Although Apple's flying high today, the real play could be hidden inside its devices. Jim's checking the tech that makes your mobile world happen with 3 key executives. That's all ahead on MAD. Meantime, got your first move tomorrow. We come right back. Stay tuned. Stanley Cup playoffs in full swing, and a heated series between the New York Rangers and the Philadelphia Flyers has the Rangers leading 2-1. The Nasdaq, of course, is operating.
Is your broker taking more than his fair share? Get more of what's yours with our low-cost platform for professional traders, investors, and institutions at Interactive Brokers.
Express from the U.S. There will be tears and tantrums, fights and fashion.
This isn't just a new season.
This is entirely a new competition.
12 beautiful women competing for model stardom, with 3 of the most famous supermodels in the world as their mentors.
One of these girls will become the face.
More energy. Bring it. Only one supermodel can guide their girl to glory.
There's nothing to hide behind here.
The Face. All new season. Monday.